Well, I want to welcome everyone to another podcast of the DC Capstone Report. Today on the podcast, we're going to take a look back at our last game against the Citadel and review that game. In the second segment, we're going to take a look at the players of the game in the Citadel game. And in the third segment, we're going to take a preview of the upcoming game against the Auburn Tigers. The DC Capstone Report is featured each Tuesday morning on Tide 102.9, The Morning Blitz with Martin Houston. You can listen live at Tide1029.com. Well, it's such a good time to be here in the day. This is leading up the week of Thanksgiving, a great week to be thankful for a lot of things. And I know that if you're an Alabama fan, you're thankful that this week has finally arrived where we get to talk about the game against Auburn. In our third and final segment, we're going to do that in just a little bit. But in this first segment, I want to talk about and review the game against the Citadel. I think we learned a lot about our team during this game. It was a tough game in the first half. The offense came out doing well, and the defense, I think, did well, but for a couple of plays. And, I believe that turnovers in the first half, penalties in the first half kept it tied at 10-10, kept it close. But our defense really played a good game, except for two long runs on the option. Our defense, I think, played a really good game. And those two long runs on the option, that is why option football, triple option football, wishbone, veer, whatever the option is, triple option football is so hard to stop because of the pitch out. And that was a pitch out that got them the two long runs. And the deal is, at that point in time, you're dealing with a one-on-one situation on the outside, and if that last man can't stop him, usually your safeties are so close to the line of scrimmage playing to stop the run, there is nobody in the backside to stop the long runs, and they can gash you for long plays. And that's what the Citadel did. Hats off to the Citadel. They handled this game the way it should have been. They did the best they could. They were very disciplined. Thought they played a good game, so my hat's off to them. Every military school is like that. Every school that you play that runs the triple option gives you problems, and it can give problems to anybody. But when you review this game on our defense, the good things that we did was we most of the time we stopped the run at the point of attack in the middle. Quinion Williams and Isaiah Buggs, Raekwon Davis, LeBron Rafe, and Darian Mathis all playing on the line. Did a good job. For the most part, Anthony Jennings and Christian Miller and Jamie Mosley set the edge for the edge rushers, set the edge in this game. And the defense was asked to do something different than they normally do in a game like this. So I think they did really well. Our Savion Smith and Patrick Surtain were out there on islands by themselves. It just happened to be Savion Smith each time that pitch man got by. He just got blocked and they played a good play. So I don't want to take anything away from Citadel on the scores that they made, but overall a 50-17 victory is a great victory for the Alabama football team. We did have a few injuries in this game. Damian Harris had a long run. At that long run, he was injured. That's the injury I'm concerned about. They called it a light concussion, but in my estimation, anytime you have a concussion, it's dangerous. It can be serious, and I don't really believe there's anything. In my opinion, I don't think there's anything like a light concussion. That's like being a little bit pregnant. I think a light concussion it can be serious. So I'm concerned about that. I hope he can come back and pass all the concussion protocol and be able to play against Auburn. We're definitely going to need him in our run game, I think. But he played well. Josh Jacobs and Najee Harris ran the ball well when they had opportunities. So I think we was able to run the ball well. Tua did a great job throwing the ball. Our pass in this game, Jalen Waddle steps up big in our passing game. Irv Smith again, our passing game. The one thing that I think on offense that might be something that Auburn could use, Georgia could use, potentially Clemson or Michigan or whoever Notre Dame might play in the final college football playoff. If we keep winning, if they watch this film, the one thing they did was a pre-snap adjustment on defense. Citadel was really disciplined about this. If you go back and watch the film, the one thing I noticed is their defensive scheme was our offensive lineman called the blocking scheme and made the call on the blocking. We're getting down close to the hiking of the ball. Time was clicking down. And then pre-snap, immediate adjustment was to shift the defense one side or the other, which set up gaps in the blocking. and instead of going head on head, they were sliding past our blockers and getting to the backfield, disrupting the early runs. That's what was going on in the first half. We made some adjustments in the second half and did much better pass blocking and much better run blocking in the second half, and that's when we were able to pull away from them in the second half. But overall, I thought it was a good game. We came out with some injuries. I think the injury to Damian Harris concerns me the most. I believe Jerry Jeudy maybe got nicked up a little bit in this game. He fumbled the ball. I think he got nicked up a little bit in this game. I think also Alex Leatherwood got nicked up a little bit in this game. But I think Deontay Thompson took a hit to the knee. I believe it's a contusion that'll be able to heal up, and he'll be ready for the game. So really in this game, I wonder about Deontay Brown. He didn't play at all in this game, still suffering from the turf toe, and Damian Harris with the concussion. So coming out of this game, an overall good performance, beating the Citadel 50-17. Anytime you can score 50 points on any team, I think you've done well. And I shouldn't not talk about our pass defense. It was superb, as Coach Saban said, because it's the first time that he's coached a team where they had 0 passing yards. They didn't attempt many passes, but the ones they did, they were incomplete. So I think in the triple option, they don't pass as much. But, of course, our defense holding them to 0 passing yards looks great on stats. They didn't pass the ball much. But still, I think in this game, it was a great defensive performance by Alabama and a good offensive performance. And to come out of this game with little injuries and a victory of 50-17, I really believe gets us ready and to launch us into the next game on our schedule. So the overall review of the game shows defense played well, except for a couple of lapses in long runs when they gashed us with the pitch out on the triple option. And the offense played really well, amassing 50 points over the time. So a good victory over the Citadel, 50-17.
You have been listening to the DC Capstone Report. The DC Capstone Report is brought to you each time this week by RollTideBama.com and FreelancePitchers.com.
Well, here in our second segment, we're going to highlight our players of the game, those standout players that played against the Citadel. On offense, you can't look any further than the quarterback himself, Tua Tagovailoa. I think he did an excellent job in this game. I think at one point he is 15 of 22 or 16 of 22. He's got 3 touchdowns, over 300 yards passing, so couldn't ask him to do any more. He got the ball out of the pocket when he had to. Now, one thing I want to point out about Tua is I think all of our listeners out there, if you listened to our show last week, our podcast, if you listened to our segment on the Martin Houston show, it airs every Tuesday morning on Tide 1029, Tide1029.com. If you listen to my segment on there, I had a little different take on Tua and his knee. I made the statement that I didn't think his knee was hurt as bad. That when he gets up pulling and tugging and limping, it's because of that brace. Well, I believe my prediction, I believe my analysis was great and true in that situation, because when this game he plays without his knee brace, I don't see him limping. I don't see him tugging on it. Even when he runs out of the pocket, I think he was much more mobile. And I believe it took him a couple of pass throws to get used to throwing without the brace. And he, in trying to overcompensate for the throwing high with the brace on, he threw a couple of passes that were short. But for those 2 short passes, when he got adjusted to playing without the brace, he did phenomenal and did a great job in this game. So he's one of my standout players of the game on offense. Another standout player on the game on offense has to be Jalen Waddle. Jalen Waddle stepped up big. I told early on in the summer that Jalen Waddle was pushing for playing time, and he has really showed up in these latter games here with playing time. Got some great yardage, 2 touchdown passes, was open on several other routes where he could have been thrown to, but other people were open as well. So Tua did a good job of getting in the ball. Jalen Waddle used his speed. I think the turf was a little issue. We had 5 inches of rain in Tuscaloosa leading up to this game. No sunshine, so it didn't dry out. Not a lot of wind, so it didn't dry out the grass. If Jalen Waddle had been able to keep his feet on a couple of runs that he had and a punt return, I think he would have had a lot more all-purpose yards than he had. But another standout player on offense had to be Jalen Waddle in this game, a super freshman in my opinion. And the third standout player in this game has got to be Irv Smith. I think Irv Smith at tight end has shown his worth on every game that he's played. But every time that he takes an opportunity to run a pass pattern, he gets open. On the long touchdown pass that he caught, he had a juke that just really broke the ankles of and figuratively broke the ankles of the defender, and runs it in, outruns everybody to the end zone for a touchdown. So he has deceptive speed for his size. He has good hands, and I think Irv Smith did a great job in this game. So my standout players of the game are Tua, Jalen Waddle, and Irv Smith on offense. On defense, this was a game that was going to be tricky for the defense. The only triple option team they had to prepare for all year, and you had to play a completely different game. But I thought overall, but for the 2 long runs, as we talked about in the earlier segment, Alabama played really well on defense. Well, all that started by rushing the edge and keeping containment on the edge rushers. And I think Anthony Jennings did a great job. So Anthony Jennings is my first standout player on defense in this game. I thought he did an excellent job of keeping the edge contained. When the plays work right and everybody does their job, it worked just like on the scoop and score that he had. When the cornerback plays the man, Anthony Jennings sets the edge, and then he was available to scoop and score on the fumble there. So he had a great job playing this game, and he was a really good standout. Thought he really upped his game, and would be really good to give him a confidence going into the Auburn game. Of course, you can't talk about standouts on defense without talking about Quinion Williams. He got cheap shot a little bit in this game. I think one of the players hit him from behind and kind of knocked him out. He got nicked up, had to go to the tent. But he came back out and played. Every time he was able to handle that fullback belly play, there wasn't a lot of gashing. If any of my listeners out there remember, that fullback belly play sets up all the other options in there. And the quarterback keeper up the middle following that fullback is good. Quinion Williams, every time he was in there, did a good job of stopping that belly play, stopping that quarterback keeper, and causing the disruption in the backfield. So I think, again, a standout, Quinion Williams in this defensive stand of the game. The other 2 that I got to mention is our middle linebackers. That's Mack Wilson and Dylan Moses. If you watch this game, you couldn't help but see them flying all over the field. Anytime you play in a triple option team, you've got the middle linebackers, I think, have to be disciplined, have one of the hardest jobs on the field. That is to cover their side of the field, but also cover the middle. You got to make sure that the ball doesn't go to the belly play, make sure that the quarterback doesn't come up the middle with the ball, and then you got to cover the quarterback going whichever side he goes to, plus the pitch man. And I thought several times in this game, I watched Dylan Moses, Mack Wilson both play with discipline and make great plays. So I think all said and done on defense, my standout players of the games are Anthony Jennings, Quinion Williams, Mack Wilson, and Dylan Moses. Well, it's our third and final segment, and it's what Alabama fans and what Auburn fans look for all year long. They call it the Iron Bowl because it used to be played in Birmingham. I call it the biggest rivalry in college sports, Alabama versus Auburn. All the listeners out there, Lance, have heard it before, but if you're born in Alabama, you got to make a choice early. You're either an Alabama fan or an Auburn fan. If you transplant here, you move here, you got to pick one or the other. It's Alabama versus Auburn. Alabama goes in at home with an undefeated season on the line. Auburn comes in a little disappointed in where they are. They're not able to play for SEC championship, not able to play for a national championship, but they're able to come in and be a wrecking ball to the Alabama season. They've done that several times in the past. As you remember, we've been in the Jordan-Hare Stadium a couple of times undefeated and come out with a loss. So I think Coach Saban, with the little lapse in getting ready for the Citadel game, I think he'll have our team ready for this game. So I look for Alabama to come out, and as long as we are hitting on all cylinders, I think Alabama is the better team this year. And normally the better team wins these games. I hear the old saying, well, you can throw out the records when it's a game like this. And I do believe that. I believe passion and competitive spirit and aggressiveness, is great in games like this. And you play and you want to play your heart out because you're playing against guys that you played high school ball with, that you lived close around, that against a school that didn't take you or against a school that you didn't go to as a recruit. And this sets up a good, emotional, passionate game. But I've always been a firm believer that passion goes out after the first quarter. If you get smacked in the mouth, everybody hits hard on these games, and then you settle down and you play your game, and the best team wins. Except for those fluke plays like that, kick six or things that happened in some of the games, the Bama punt game, things that happened in some games like that. So if all is equal, if Alabama plays its best game and Auburn plays its best game, I still think Alabama wins this game. Going in this game, I believe we're going to be able to run the ball. It seems like in games that Auburn has lost, especially against Tennessee, Mississippi State, Alabama, teams that have played them, Georgia, been able to run the ball against Auburn and set up the pass. And I believe Alabama can score more points against Auburn's defense than Auburn can score against Alabama's defense. So I look for Alabama to come out and establish the run with Damian Harris and Josh Jacobs and Najee Harris running the ball. I think Tua plays a vital role in this game on when to hand the ball off to the running back, when to keep it himself, and when to throw it. I think Auburn's going to try to set us up to try to get some turnovers. I think the way they're going to try to win this game is to rake the ball out anytime they can. They're going to be hitting hard, trying to dislodge the ball. I believe they're going to need a couple of turnovers in this game to win this game. So I think we got to have ball security and protect the ball. I think on offense we got to come out and be, persistent in running the ball, try to establish the run to set up the pass in this particular thing. Most of the time we in these games leading up to this game, we've been able to pass the ball to set up the run. But I believe Auburn feels like they can play with Alabama and stop the run with their front seven instead of bringing up their safeties. So I believe that if they do that, they're gonna have an opportunity to gas them. I believe our running backs and our run offense is better than Auburn's defense. So I look for Tua to have a big game. I look for Damian Harris and Najee Harris and Josh Jacobs to have big games, and I really believe it's a big offensive show at home. I think the edge, of course, playing at home is a big thing for Alabama. I hope that the field is in much better condition for this game. I don't think the field was in good condition for the Citadel game, and it cost us some plays. So we're going to need those type plays in this game. We can't have the turnovers in this game, and we can't have the penalties. We need to play discipline. We need to take care of the ball, and we need to run the ball to set up the pass in this game to beat Auburn. So I look for our offense to come out. I think Tua has a big game. I think he may have his Heisman moment in this game. People have been giving him a little down, saying that other players like Kyler Murray or Dwayne Haskins are sneaking up on him in the Heisman race. I don't think there's any doubt in my mind that Tua Tagovailoa is the best player in the United States. But there's going to be sports writers out there that want to look for any reason they can to vote for somebody else. But I think he puts all that to rest in this game against Auburn. He wants to play in this game. He's passionate about playing and beating Auburn in this game. And I look forward to him playing and coming out. I think Jalen Hurts proved in the last game that he's physically fit, if needed, to be called on in this game to come in and do a good job as well. So offensively, I think we play well. We put some points on the boards, and we score more points than Auburn can score on our defense. On the defensive side of the ball, I think we come back to what we have been building toward. We want to build a defense to beat the teams that run the RPOs. I look for Jared Stidham to try to run the ball some in this to establish their running game. I don't believe Auburn's backs are as talented as they have been in the past. I believe we can stop them with our front seven. And I believe that this is a game where, Jared Stidham, if he takes some chances and throws the ball into coverage, that you'll see some interceptions by our defensive backs, especially Deontay Thompson in this game. So I look for our edge rushers to have an opportunity to rush the quarterback, to get a beat on him. I see our sack total in this game being 3 to 5 sacks based on how many times they throw the ball. And I believe we can really slow down their rushing game to make them want to run the ball. So I believe this game sets up a good game for Alabama to really show on a national stage with everybody watching an opportunity for us to play well. Now, everybody says, well, we got the SEC championship game. Yeah, but you never want to go into this relying on, hey, we already got the SEC championship game. This is a rivalry game. I believe Alabama goes in this with the mentality that we're going to beat Auburn, and I would look for them to beat them and beat them handily if they can. And if they can run the score up on Auburn, I think they will to a certain extent in this game. But I believe Auburn's defense is well enough to slow us down and to make us punt the ball on several occasions. I don't think we'll have to rely on our kicking game, which I think is a little suspect now with the extra points and the field goals. I think we win this with our offense, and we win it with our defense by by slowing them down on the run. The one thing I think Auburn can take away from the Citadel game and the Proc game against Mississippi State is if you run the ball against Alabama and have some success, you take the time off the clock. It gives them less time to score. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Auburn run the ball on successive downs if they can do that to try to take the clock out and to slow the game down, to shrink the game to a smaller game to have a chance to win. But I think Alabama overcomes that. I think we come out hitting on all cylinders. And at the end of the day, I think Alabama wins this game 45-10. Another victory for the Crimson Tide with the undefeated season.
You have been listening to the DC Capstone Report. The DC Capstone Report is brought to you each time this week by RollTideBama.com and FreelancePitchers.com. Be sure to go online and check us out on DCCapstoneReport.com for future updates.